On the base level, the idea of a puzzle horror game didn't really make sense, just because both genres are presented so differently in games. Puzzle games usually take a slower approach to gameplay and require out-of-the-box thinking to progress the game. When I think of puzzle games, I imagine bright imagery and happy visuals to keep players engaged while they think of how to solve a problem. In contrast, horror games are designed to bring out the feeling of discomfort from the player. However, the genre of puzzle and horror games started to become more and more similar, with similarities like problem solving, creating an immersive experience for the player, and a sense of achievement all being present and combined with games like Clockwork and Resident Evil. And this is our introduction to Released in 2010 by a Danish independent studio called Playdead, Limbo is a 2D side-scroller puzzle game that was originally released on the Xbox Live Arcade. Compared to the other 2D side-scrollers coming out at the time that had bright colors and expansive detailed backgrounds, Limbo was the complete opposite. Blurry backgrounds, a dark atmosphere, and a very muted color palette. So why did it do so well? Mainly because it stuck to its original idea. Arndt Jensen, the game's head developer, had a specific mood and art style he wanted. While other games primarily focused on the environment and scenery, Jensen wanted the core focus to be on the gameplay. The development team for Limbo was only made up of about 8 people, and since they were working for Microsoft at the time, they had to make a lot of changes in order to get it onto the arcade, including trashing 70% of the original game's content they previously developed. Fortunately enough, they didn't implement every change that was recommended. Multiplayer and adjustable difficulty levels never got implemented into the final game. Limbo has a monochromatic art style, with many of the visuals consisting of various shades of white, black, and gray. We don't even get to see much of the background as they're blurred out apart from shapes like trees, rocks, and buildings, giving you just enough to set each setting of the game apart from the other. Everything in the game is characterized by silhouettes, but you can always determine what something is supposed to represent. And since Limbo takes a minimalist approach to its environment, it actually works in its favor and allows the detail of the background and structures in the game to fill in the gaps and create a sense of immersion in an eerie, desolate world. Lighting is another big aspect of Limbo's game style. Go figure, it being a game where the main color palette is black and gray. With a lot of the platforming in the game, having you use lighting to your advantage, either to reveal hidden objects or to avoid traps. Set up by I didn't. Insert joke here is what I put. I don't have anything for this. Usually in games, to differentiate an object that has some importance for forwarding the game, it'll be highlighted either through lighting tactics or the game displaying it through a 30-stroke outline. Limbo, on the other hand, says nah, and makes it the exact same colors 50% of the screen. Literally, what am I supposed to do here? I'm so lost. I'm so fucking lost. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh my god, I'm so fucking stupid. That's a log! I thought that was a fucking platform. That's a log! This works hand in hand with the overarching ambient noise this game has. Limbo has very sparse sound effects. Aside from footsteps, machines rumbling, and the many sounds of your character eating shit, the game is completely absent of any kind of music, which sounds kinda strange for a game like Limbo, but it works perfectly for the tone it's going for, and any kind of added music would only take away from why Limbo works so well. Trial and error is a fundamental mechanic in Limbo, or as the developers rightly name it, trial and death. It's very unlikely that on your first try you'll be able to avoid many of the traps the game throws at you. The same goes for the puzzles. The majority of puzzles involve experimentation and learning from failed attempts. Limbo has a really good mix of having to think on the fly versus being able to take your time and think through each puzzle. This is intertwined with its ability to tell a story through its environment. Now there's a reason why up to this point I haven't really talked about the story. The narrative of Limbo is very open-ended and left much up to interpretation. But unfortunately for me, I didn't have the luxury of actually completing the game. Fuck me, man. Thank fucking God. Am I done? Hello? Is this supposed to happen? Is this supposed to happen? Okay, so I'm looking at a tutorial right now, and this is not supposed to be happening. What? Okay, I just have to treat it like a goddamn fucking... I have to use stills. I have to do it through stills. Okay, here we go. Oh, fuck me. Release me! The game has you playing as a nameless boy, as its fandom has commonly named him. As he traverses through different landscapes in search of his sister, Limbo provides very little explanation for the story, but puts little pieces through the environment or visuals. This has sprung up countless theories about what Limbo is really about, but the one thing that's common throughout all these theories is themes of death and isolation. If you couldn't already tell from the way this game presents itself, life ain't all sunshine and rainbows. From the very beginning of the game, you wake up in a very uninviting environment. You don't even have the luxury of being conscious, as if someone intentionally just dropped you there. The environment of Limbo is filled with deadly landscapes and traps. Death is treated as a recurring motif, and Limbo made sure to display every possible method of killing a 10-year-old child, showing just how unforgiving and lonely this world can be. It evokes a sense of isolation, as neither you or anyone you encounter has any dialogue. It's common in games for the person you're controlling to have no dialogue or not speak at all, but when the entire game consists of nothing but simple actions, it creates unease, as humans are used to having emotions told through dialogue or facial expressions. But when both of those are taken away, your mind sort of fills in the blanks and creates its own conclusion of how someone is feeling. For a first-time game that came out alongside gems like Castle Crashers and A Kingdom of Keflings, Limbo was only just the start for Playdead. 6 years later, Playdead would release another game, with a similar playstyle to Limbo. However, since Limbo was such a success, Playdead was able to go all out for Inside, giving the game more colors, detailed player models for the characters, and some really solid environments and sound design, which works to tickle that one smooth part of my brain. Where Limbo was more focused on the puzzle solving aspect rather than the story, Inside manages to have that perfect balance of story and puzzle solving, keeping the Playdead's theme of letting the player decide what they think they came up with. You start the game being thrown into the story with no information given. Much of Inside's story is going to be given through the environment. Environmental storytelling is Playdead's bread and butter, and whether it's something that chases you or just the 2D backdrop in the game, from the abandoned facilities to the eerie landscapes, each location serves a purpose for you to discover its meaning. The puzzles in Inside are one of the highlights of the game. I'd honestly go as far to say that they're better than Limbo's. Inside's puzzles rely a lot on concepts of physics, and as someone who wants to feel smart, finally understanding the simple concept of gravity in a video game and getting that little boost of dopamine when I figure it out feels so good, especially with such a variety of puzzles ranging from underwater sections to getting to control your average Fox News enjoyer. I will say Inside's themes are definitely more on the nose than Limbo's was, but I don't think having a theme easily displayed through puzzles and visuals makes a game any less enjoyable. If anything, having a show don't tell mentality is something more games need to incorporate. The concept of breaking from conformity and becoming an individual is pretty apparent, not only through the boy's clothes, him being the only one with a colored shirt, but throughout the game, having a collection of people you control, ironically breaking free and then proceeding to follow us. But it's the ending of Inside that really threw me for a loop. While it's left much up to interpretation, my take has a lot to do with the concept of what individuality even is. Being transformed into an amalgamation of individuals wanting freedom to finally getting that freedom and having no idea what to do when it's finally given. While freedom is an amazing concept on paper, having a habitual cycle and knowing your purpose is a comfort many people enjoy, even if it means limiting what they want to do. Taking those people and giving them that freedom of choice breaks their cycle, and some have no idea what to do with it. They just simply sit there and wonder what to do next. Now, in terms of their differences, Limbo and Inside share many of the same roots. But when it comes to trying to analyze the meaning of both, Inside did an extremely good job of crafting their theme and left a thought-provoking game that lingers long after the credits roll, and in the exact same amount of time as Limbo. Now, this portion only covers Limbo and Inside. Next video I'm going to be going over Little Nightmares 1 and 2 and seeing how they differ from Playdead's games, so make sure to stay tuned for that video.